Hi everybody, it's the Soap Man and it's Saturday and it's time to make some soap. So what we're doing today is what I'm calling a vintage inspired soap. So if you'll give me just a couple of minutes, I'll explain what I mean because the color palette won't make a whole lot of sense otherwise. So what inspired me was a set of bath towels. I don't know why I remember this, but when I was a little boy, I mean like a real young boy, like 5-6 years growing up, my grandmother had a set of bath towels that she only used when company came over. Like if I'd spend the weekend or if my aunt and uncle would come out of town and spend the weekend, and she'd use her good bath towels. And she eventually passed those down to my mom and dad because I remember them in the bathroom where I grew up, growing up at home. My mom and dad had them, but even my mom and dad had them hanging on the bath rack just to look pretty. They weren't to use, they were just to hang and look pretty. And then about 27, 28 years ago, mom and dad handed them down to my wife and me when we bought our first house. We actually used the towels, so they eventually wore out, needless to say, with use and laundering and so forth. But I found a hand towel. I actually had two of the hand towels to those. Folks, these towels are at least as old as I am, if not older. And here is one of the hand towels, and this is what inspired me. So, we see like the olive green and the navy blue, the royal blue. I don't really think I can get the whole towel in the picture here. But like there's kind of like the olive green and see the royal blue. This towel is at least as old as I am, and I'm 53 years old. It may be older than I am, and I'm 53 years old. And they're also reversed because, like, see, the navy blue is the primary color here, where the olive on the other side is the primary color. So, this towel that I forgot I had, and I remember from my childhood, that's at least as old as I am, it's the inspiration for the colors in this soap. And this towel is from, if you can read this, the Stevens Utica Fine Arts Collection. And I looked these up online just to see if that company's still around, and apparently it's not. But somebody else had this exact same towel set and sold them on Etsy. They just recently sold on Etsy. Somebody else has these and they're still in good shape. But anyway, that's what inspired me. So for the olive green, I'm using a color my friend Lisa gave me from Nurture Soap called Cabin Fever. And it does have sort of an olive green to it. And for the royal blue color, I'm using Brambleberry's Ultramarine Blue. And I'm scenting this with Nurture Soap's Star Showers. And if you've used this, I think you know what I mean. I can't describe the scent. I just truly cannot describe it. It smells good, but I also like it because it behaves exceptionally well in cold process, and the scent really holds up very, very well in cold process. So I really like it for those reasons. And it smells pretty good. So let's go ahead and get started. What the plan is, just to get a light emulsification, and I'm going to pour off some for soap frosting. And in the main soap, just do a simple drop swirl with the two colors. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get started. Put our lye into our oils. Get a very, very light emulsification. That's good to start. I mean, like a matter of seconds. I'll stick in some more, no question about it. So I'm going to go ahead and pour off 13 ounces each into 2 containers for my soap frosting. And we'll talk more about that later. Let's see, 13 each. Or roughly 13. It certainly doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so we'll get 13 into 1. Into another. And we'll set those two aside out of the way just for the moment. And I'm done with my scale, so I'll put it out of the way. Then I'm going to take the rest of it, split it equally, because I'm going to have my olive green and my royal blue equally in the soap, and this is one I can just eyeball. And since I'm finished with this, I'll go ahead and scrape it out. Make sure I get all of it used. Set it out of the way. Then from this point, we will go ahead and take our 2 colors. I'm going to just mix up my green and put most of it in here. I'm going to save a little bit for my frosting. Do the same for my blue. Save a little bit for my frosting. Stir the colors in by hand to see what it looks like. And that's what I want. Sort of an olive green. Close to an olive green. And the same with my blue. And I'm going ahead and put my fragrance into these. It's measured out just for this amount. And I'll stir it in. And because this fragrance behaves incredibly well, and because I want this semi-thick, I'm going to go ahead and stick blend it some, and I may even have to pause you and wait a little while. But let's see what happens when we stick blend it a little bit. That's actually the consistency I want, so I'm going to go ahead and pour. Just going to be a simple drop pour. these out. Tap her down. And clean up a little bit. And I will be back in just a little while when I see what the frosting does. I've got a couple of ideas on what to do with the frosting. Ideally, I would like to take each one, put half of them into a frosting bag, and do multicolored dollops across the top. We'll see what the frosting wants to do. But anyway, I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, despite an enormous mess, I think I have the right consistency, and I have the mixture that I want. So I'm just going to try to do some dollops. Huge mess. But the consistency is much better for piping. My best yet, despite a mess. I got my bag too full is what it is. So let me clean a little bit of this mess up. Get some of this down into the bag. And then I'm going to put just like one on top in the center. And then kind of fill in some of the spaces. But the piping is doing what I wanted. I wanted the two colors in it. Okay, a lot left. I will deal with that off camera. And of course, let's face it, this could not be something from the Stevens Utica Fine Arts Collection without some gold shimmer glitter on top. But the piping did what I wanted it to. And I will clean the mold up off camera. I will let that sit for a little while and put some rubbing alcohol on it to prevent soda ash. But for the most part, folks, this did what I wanted it to. So, inspired by a set of my grandmother's towels that are older than I am, at least as old as I am, here is a new soap from the Stevens Utica Fine Arts Collection. Alright everybody, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for the cut. Alright, so I'm back to cut the soap, and everything went the way I wanted. Of course, I have the slick, shiny sides I like. The colors did just exactly 100% what I wanted them to do. I mean, that's just exactly the color palette I wanted. The piping went well, despite having the bag too full and making a huge mess, but the piping went much, much better. And I actually think each individual bar is going to look better than the whole soap. Let's cut it inside. I did add a hanger tool swirl after I turned the camera off. Let's just cut it and see. But from the outside, I like it. Yep, that's what I wanted. And the piping has the multicolors in it like I wanted. Now, I never would have imagined those two colors going together, but they look nice. And I'm really glad that the piping got the multicolors in it like I wanted it. And a thin, simple bar for me. So yeah, I am very happy with this. This did exactly like I wanted it to. Imagine that.